Okay, I'm Meryl Butler, and this is about making fiber art ATCs or artist trading cards. And so I just got introduced to really doing, I knew what ATCs were, but at the start of the pandemic, a group I'm involved with, the Virginia Art Educators Association, decided to do trades every month um, to kind of get us through the isolation at the beginning. And it was so much fun, and I just love it. So I generally make every month, I generally make about 12 to 15 cards, and I trade 10 of them. 11 because the gal who's in charge of mixing them all up, we usually give her one as a gift. So everybody makes about 10, about the same, and they send it into the gal who's in charge, and she mixes them all up and sends them back. So what happens is we all get every month a bunch of different ATC cards with great ideas. It's so inspirational. It's fun. It's my favorite mail to get during the month. And I think it would be really cool if this group did it at some point, maybe only for 1 month. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now, not all the ATCs that I've gotten the last year, and I think 2 years. I think I have made and received over 400 ATCs in this project already. And I'm not going to show you all of them, but I am going to show you some of the fabric ones so we can start and see that. So that's what I'm going to do first, is show you some examples of fabric ATCs done by me and some other artists. And then I'll do a demo, and then anybody who wants to hang out and work on theirs, I'll answer questions. So I'm going to switch my camera right now. And this is casual. If you have a question, just jump in. So here we go. So this, so this is my book of ATC cards. Yeah. This is the 5-inch book. I think I had to make a bigger one, but I saved them in these pages, and so I marked the pages that had some ATCs, and I'm going to try and put them on a background here so you can see. This is one I made, and this was just for a fun. We have different themes every month. So this theme was flowers. And so all this is 4 circles folded and a little button in the top. And this has zigzag stitch on the outside. That I usually do some of mine with zigzag stitch on the outside, the fabric ones. One gal puts bias binding on. That's insane. So this was for a project called Vintage. And so the background fabric has music, and I used the little yeah, I'm sure all of you are old enough to know what that is. The little adapter for the 45. And and let's see what the back is. So on the back, a lot of times on my fabric cards, the back of the card, when it's paper, you can write the title and everything on there, but for mine, I don't like to use a solid background color. And now some of the gals who do fabric here, they actually stitch it down to a cardstock backing where they can write on it. But I make these little pockets, and then I punch out. I have a little punch for the tag, and I put a little descriptive tag in the back of some of my fabric ones. So these are the extra ones, and then I trade them to people. So now this one is done by Tina Noyce, and so you can see she's added, sorry, trying to get a better view here. She stitched down rickrack and rhinestones, and she stitched hers to a cardboard or cardstock backing, and she pinked the edge of hers too. So that's one way of doing it. And then we have this other one from this month. I'm trying to think what the theme was. Oh, we have several fiber. We have a lot of fiber people. So this one, it was, your favorite medium. So this was stuck down with some kind of webbing and stitched, and then she also stitched around the edge. This is by Dawn Voss. She's the one that puts bias binding on the outside of hers a lot. I don't know how she does that. And then this one is a beautiful little weaving that she just used a piece of cardstock and actually wove something in there. Isn't that fun? Yeah. So then on this one, what do we? Oh, this is felt. So this gal stitched, this is Stephanie Abbey's, and she does a lot with felting and stitching. She did a lot of work on this handwork, and this is all felted. And she irons on her label. So she has a fabric label on the back, which she irons on. Now this one isn't fabric here, but I'll show you, but you just have to see this one. One of the gals, Linda Hess, she does Fimo. So these, all of hers are, isn't that amazing?
Wow.
So yeah, I've got lucky. I got a lot of hers.
What was that process?
This is Fimo polymer clay. So she makes a cane with this. So
Oh, okay.
slices it, and these are, and I have a lot of hers. I love them, and hers are the leftover canes from other projects. You know, when you get to the end of a cane, it gets a little squished, and a lot of times it doesn't have the original design as sharp as you wanted it for your original project. But for something like ATC cards, it works great. And then this is impressed in here with a stamp. So that's, yeah, it's not fabric. Oh, this is even better one of hers on the next page. You can see I lucked out 2 months in a row. I'll show you. They're made from the same cane, the flower.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I love getting hers. It's fun. And you know, if you did something with polymer clay, you could put a couple of holes in it and turn it into a button and sew it down. Now this, I believe, is Dawn Vass's again. Yes. So on this one, she bound it with fabric all the way around the edge. And so she used, this is raw edge applique on there. Whoops.
It's out of focus a little bit.
Yes, I know. Come on, little camera. Let me put it down a little and see if it'll refocus. Here we go.
Yeah, that's good.
What's that?
There we
Now
go.
it focuses, yes.
I can see it.
That's better in focus at that
That's sharp.
distance.
And she stitched her name in the bottom. Her name is Dawn.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? So that was a cool one. And let's see if there's any
So
more.
you said those are 5 inches, or how big are they?
I'm sorry, what?
How big are the ones you're showing at the moment?
What about them?
What's the size of those?
Oh, all ATCs are 2.5 by 3.5.
Okay.
Size of regular playing cards. This is one that I did with, this is, it was about, for February, Love and Abundance, and I just did there's really no fabric, but there's stitching, so you can stitch through watercolor paper, which is really 100% rag. I use 100% rag watercolor paper, so you can consider that to be fabric. But I did a little pocket on here out of clear so that you could see, so you could take it out if you ever get broke.
Oh, it's a folded $1. Ah,
Yeah, it's a dollar bill folded. So, and then you can see the stitching on the back, the zigzag stitching through there. That's my leftover paper that I made. Let's see, we got one here. Which one? Oh, this is, oh yeah, this one, she did a cross stitch
oh.
on felt. Probably looks like with one of those little guide things. And then this one was just a striped fabric. And also she stitched it onto cardstock on the back. This one's mine. So it was July, patriotic. So I did a little quilt of the Statue of Liberty, and I paper pieced this. And then on the back, it has a little pocket And I did a little booklet about my inspiration. And I was inspired by this book, The Secret Life of Lady Liberty. She's like sort of the goddess of the Americas. And so our country really started out with a symbol that was a goddess. And I thought that book was cool. So I did that. And this one is Stephanie's again. I got the best one. She did different ones. This was for St. Patrick's Day, so it was in March. So she put a little charm on, and she put all these beads on. I mean, this is all felted backing, and then she put needle punch felting in for the pot of gold. So you can see she did her blanket stitch on the outside.
Well,
Stephanie does cool things. It's so exciting to get these because you get to see cool things that people did and cool ideas. Now this is not fabric, but it does have, I sent you guys the pattern for this, and it does have a little envelope that you open up. This is for ear of the ox. So it opens up. And these little patterns that I sent you have been made for paper. However, you can take two pieces of fabric and join them together in a little sandwich with stitch witchery or any kind of fusible, and then cut them out and use it basically the same way this paper is used because it's thin. So I was going to take them all out, and then I realized, no, I'll never get them back in the right places because these are in order by the months. Okay, so this is a one with her hand designed fabrics that I think she colored some of these. This is Dawn Bass again. Dawn often does the fabric ones. Oh, and this is actually not fabric, it's paper, but I'm showing it because you can take little strips and just weave them together. And that makes a great little ATC card too. It's lots of fun. It's so amazing. We have a web page where when people get their cards in the mail, they share what they got and they talk about how cool it is. And this one, there's a lot of fabric on this one. So this one is Tammy Clark, and it looks like she's got silk noil on the back, and it's thin, no batting. You can put batting in if you want. This little piece here is a shrinky dink. She made that, and she put 2 holes in it before she shrunk it, and she sewed it on there. And then these are just left over. She has a kind of a cross-hatched quilting stitch in here to kind of attach all this stuff. Now, a lot of these people didn't make a 2.5 by 3.5 inch square to start with. I sent you guys the download of the 12-inch by 12-inch piece, and a lot of these people, she and probably her, did all of this background on the 12-inch square piece and then cut it down into 2.5-inch pieces. Or you can do larger than 12-inch. The reason I did the guide for the 12-inch is because that's the size of scrapbook cardstock. Now here's Dawn Vass again, showing off with her little eensy beensy bias binding. Isn't that cool?
wow.
Yeah. So it's adorable. And that may be the last one of the examples. Yeah. Oh wait, there's one. Oh yeah. This was the first trade. This is amazing. Let's see who did this. Is this Deborah Fitzgerald? This is applique.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Cool.
I think it's applique, yeah, and little paint dots on there on denim, looks like. And it was called Hot for the Blues, and I think the theme was something about blue that month. So those are most of the fabric ones that I've gotten, although it's true that the other ones, you know, are very inspirational for fabric. And so I'll show you how I make one real quick. And I know you gals have lots of leftover pieces from your, um, dyeing and stuff. So this is basically how I do it. So I like to cut myself. Let me get this a little bit lower. There we go. So I cut myself a 2.5 by 3.5 inch opening. I cut it carefully with a knife so that I have both. And so this helps me line everything up. For instance, I didn't get to show one of these because I gave all of them away that I finished them. They took a long time. And so this is my Dalai Lama quilt, a picture of it, and I sent it to Spoonflower and printed these all up. They're all 2.5 by 3.5. They're actually slightly over because I ironed this onto the back, and when I cut it, I want to cut it smaller uh, because it'll seal that edge. But you can see how that'll work in there. And so this was for the month where we were supposed to do our favorite medium. So my favorite medium is fabric, and my original Dalai Lama, about the whole quilt is almost 5 feet tall. So what you're seeing here is the portrait was created with little pieces of fabric and thread. There's no paint in that. But I didn't want to I didn't want to do that much work on the ATC cards. So I scanned it in and had it printed at Spoonflower, and I made these. So that was a good way to solve that problem. So I just want to show you, this is what I sent you guys that you could make windows out of. This would go on top of a card. So you would take some stitch witchery or that other stuff, schema seam, and fuse two fabrics together, front and back, so it's a little bit stiff, and then you would cut this out. So this is the pattern here for that little open up envelope that you saw, and you could use this to create doors to open up to a fabric card. So that's why I sent you those. I didn't get around to doing one yet, but here's a piece of, wait a minute. Oh, here we go. So here's a piece of Peltex, and I used to use Timtex, and you can use, but it's discontinued. You can use Fast to Fuse, I think. This one, Peltex, it comes with fusible on one side or fusible on two sides. I like fusible on two sides. If I'm just making a single card like this, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll start with two pieces of fabric a little bit bigger than my card. So first, cut this card. So I have marked this ruler. This is a 3-inch square ruler, and I've marked it with this pink tape to show 2.5, so I can see what is 2.5 by 3.5. And I'm going to cut a piece of this just a little bit bigger than 2.5 by 3.5, and it doesn't have to be even. But it's good to have your Peltex a little bit bigger, because then after you fuse it together, then you can trim it down to size and it'll seal the edges. So there's my piece cut approximately, and here's I'm going to do something with a little space background. So I'm going to put this here. Now I do have fusible on both sides, so you want to be sure that you get both sides covered with fabric before you do anything. I didn't bring my big iron out here. This is my little iron, so I hope it will work. I think it will. I hope so. The big irons, it looks pretty good. So often there's a lot of different ways. Oh, maybe it's not. Oh, it's not on high. Okay. Oh, wait, it's got to heat up a little more. But the idea here is that this is going to fuse, and we'll wait for the iron to get a little bit hotter. And then I have all of these little pieces of things that I can fuse down or just lay down and stitch. And let's see. So I have this. I might want to fuse on, I think I sort of have an outer space theme going here. So I might want to fuse on a star. So the way I would do that with Steam Seam 2 is I draw myself a little star on here. There's a star. And I would cut that like that. And I'm going to fuse it down to, cut it just a little bit skinnier. Fuse it down to here. And, oh, actually, I don't have to fuse it yet. You peel and stick with Steam Seam 2. And then what I'm going to do is cut this star out. And then I'll peel off the back. You probably, I like Steam Seam 2 because it acts like a Post-it note. The other ones, the Misty Fuse, I love that, but it doesn't stay where you put it and it floats around. And most of my projects that I'm working on require, like the Dalai Lama, all of those little pieces of fabric, I put them down and rearrange them many times before I finally fuse them. So that's what I like about this. So here's my little star now. And I'm looking at the shape of this. I'm going to just peel and stick it in the middle. And it should stick down when I iron the other stuff. You got to have a good fingernail to get it peeled back. So this is now like a Post-it note. So it'll stay there where I put it. And let's see if my iron's hot enough to seal this. I think it is now. Yeah, I heated it up. I like this little iron for small projects. Now, if I was doing a lot of these, when I do my my sets, I definitely do a bigger background piece, and then I trim it down into the smaller sizes. But I just want to get this on here so that you can see how I trim it.
Where did you find your little iron?
Oh, Joanne's, it's Clover. Yeah, it's really good for if you're doing paper piecing or foundation piecing, because you can just sit it by the sewing machine there and have it right next to you. So I have all these other little fabrics, and I'm going to cut this. So you want to be sure you're pretty close to the edge, because you don't want to lose your Timtex there. So I take my little rotary cutter. And I often trim it down to size before I'm finished decorating, because then I can start to see what the area is that I have to decorate. This isn't sticking too well because I think my iron's probably not quite hot enough for Timtex. And then I'll do something around the edge here. Now, you can see, you can stitch fabrics together first before you iron them down. I use full pieces of fabric here because it was easy and quick. But, if you have other pieces, you can stitch them together first and then iron them down and then trim them. And, I have leftover pieces, like this is a little leftover piece from Seminole patchwork. You could just put your Steam Seam 2 or your Misty Fuse or whatever on the back and stitch it down, iron it down to here and put another fabric here and sew through that if you want. I mean, there's a lot of cool things you can do. And then I'm going to, because I have kind of a space theme, I'm going to put a planet in there. So there is a planet on this fabric. Here it is, right here. And I'm going to cut that out first, out of the fabric, the bigger piece. And again, you can see, any of these fabrics could be cool fabrics that you design yourself. And then you do want to be careful not to get this steam seam on your iron. So I want to put some, I want to cut a piece of steam seam smaller than the fabric. So I'm going to make a line here and cut that out a little bit on the inside. You don't want your steam seam or your fusible to go over the edge of the fabric you're fusing it to. Otherwise, it's going to get gunky on the iron. So I'm just going to put that on there. I'm going to just iron it down a little bit, and then I'm going to cut this out. So I'm not sure. I'm going to cut. Sometimes when I do my collage stuff, I don't cut out right on the edge, or at least I don't start by doing that. Sometimes I want to have that little edge around there. So yeah, so I think I'm going to put that there. Peel it. It's got the steam seam 2 on the back. I'm going to put it right there, and then I'm going to turn it upside down and trim it. And I'll iron it, and then I'll show you how I put a rhinestone on. Now, you can be stitching at any point. I didn't bring, it's hard for me to do, I haven't worked out how to do the video with my sewing machine yet. So at any of the points in this, I could be stitching. But that's going to iron that on there. And then my favorite way to add rhinestones is with t-shirt paint, glitter t-shirt paint. Definitely not glitter glue. Glitter glue is awful. It doesn't work for anything, in my opinion. And so I always want to use, and I'm looking for my rhinestones. Oh, here. So I have my rhinestones all sorted. So I have some moon rhinestones. Maybe we'll put a moon up there. And I thought I brought some little dot rhinestones, but I don't see them right now. Huh. Okay. So I'll show you how I attach this. I just put some glitter t-shirt paint. Maybe it's better there. Yeah, I like it better there. Okay, so you can do this with regular round rhinestones too, which I will show you too if I can find it. You lick your finger, and that way you can pick up the rhinestone and set it down. And now it's glued, and when it dries, it will be all glitter. So you can use all kinds of ways to embellish this. I probably do a blanket stitch around the outside edge. If I had wanted to pink it, I would have pinked it before this so that the size would be right after pinking. You want to keep in mind that there are, some people put their ATCs in little envelopes, and the envelopes are designed to fit a 2.5 by 3.5 inch card. But it's designed to fit thinner cards. So for mine here, it's going to be a little thicker because of the rhinestone and the thickness of this. So sometimes then I'll cut it just slightly trimmed. And I might zigzag the edge with the machine. I would have done that before gluing this normally. Or I might blanket stitch around the edge. You can use stamps, you can use dyes, watercolors, gouache, acrylic paint, Prismacolor pencils, rubber stamps, and ink, any others. It's great for surface design. The main thing is you need 3 things. You need a backing, a front, and something in the middle. It doesn't have to be stiff like that. Dawn Voss, on several of her quilted ones, she just used regular thin batting. And so hers is much more flexible. I like the kind of stiffness of this. And so you can add surface design fabrics. You can stitch them down even to a playing card. Playing cards are this size. That's the guy who invented this idea years and years ago thought it would be cool for artists to have baseball cards to trade. So he did it right on the same size as baseball cards. But you can surface design on that. You can add fabric to baseball, to any kind of playing cards, which it's real easy to get those at a thrift store that you don't get a whole deck and it's only a quarter. And let's see. I always say consider your message. So, one of the things that's important for me is, what's the message that I want to pass to somebody? And this is a great opportunity to, pass a message of love or creativity or whatever. So, I think a little bit about that. I love outer space, and I think I like it because it's cosmic and it feels, I don't know, expansive. So you want to consider your message because somebody's going to get this, and how do you want them to feel when they get it? And so it's kind of nice to me. I like, I think of art and creativity as an opportunity for healing, for both the person creating it and for the person receiving it. So you might want to give a little attention to what kind of message you want to give to the recipient of the card. My belief is that our intentions while we're working with our hands and doing something creative goes into the thing that we create. Uh, I, I did hear one time a woman was telling kind of a spiritual teacher. She said that when she was nervous, she would knit, and she felt so much better after she was knitting. She got rid of her nervousness. And he said, yeah, he said, throw that thing away, whatever you knit, because all your nervousness went in there and it's going to be felt by other people. And so I thought that was interesting. And I do, when I exhibit my work, I do how they just look at it and they feel like there's something healing going on. And I believe that's from intention. So you might want to think about that if that's kind of your, interest. And you can use all kinds of things to decorate the surface. One thing a lot of artists do is after they finish even stitching, you can take a little bit of dark acrylic ink or paint or dye and put it around the outside edge, and it kind of makes a border, kind of makes it look like it's antiqued a little bit. You can use you can, if you don't want to actually bead, you can use this t-shirt paint and just do dots and it looks like beads, or you can do dots of paint and put your bead in it and you don't have to sew it. So there's it's a wonderful opportunity to kind of play with ideas. Maybe you have an idea for a piece of fiber art that you're not sure about how it's going to work. So this is the perfect opportunity. Take about, if you want to do 16 cards, you can take about a 13 or 14-inch square piece of fabric and play with it all over. And then at the end, you can cut that up. It'll cut up into 16 ATCs, and then you can trade them and it'll be fun. So I think that's everything except for questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Joanne Fabrics didn't have the Peltex in the two-sided fusible. At least the local one here. She recommended this spray and fix no sew heat fusible adhesive. Do you ever use anything like that?
I have never tried that because I have tons of Peltex. But it doesn't have to be fusible on both sides. There's some situations where you might prefer for it to be only fusible on one side, because what you would do with that is you'd fuse your design side and maybe do all your stitching. And if you're concerned that your stitching might look messy on the back, then what you do is after you've done all your stitching, then you put the backing on there.
Okay.
And you can't do that if you can't press anything. If you want to leave the back blank, you can't press anything on the front if the back has the fusible on it, because it'll stick to your ironing board. So there are some of these that I do prefer to have that it's only fusible on one side.
Okay.
Yeah, great gift tags. That's a great idea, Anne. And yeah, they are a miniature version of fabric postcards. And yeah, the spray is fun. Now you can't throw any of your scraps away, even if they're a half an inch, because they work great for this. One gal took a bunch of scraps on this and then put tulle, netting on top of a big piece, and then it's stitched all over on top to trap the scraps, and then she cut it apart into pieces. So it's really fun, and I would love it if this group decided to do a trade one time. I mean, I think it would be cool. Just save the scraps from our projects. So, oh yeah, that's right. Some artists use them as business cards. Thank you, Gwen. And what you do is you can do your fabric thing on the front, and when you stitch it down, you stitch it to a piece of cardstock on the back that has all your business information. Yeah, nobody will throw away your business card when it's made out of
No,
this.
no.
Yeah, so that's a good way around that too. Cool, thank you. Let's
Well,
see.
if we want to do it in this group, we would need someone to organize it. Let's say we all send it to one person who swaps them out and sends them back.
Yeah, and
That would be one way.
I wouldn't mind doing that after I get all the button things sorted out.
Yes.
But people could still be working on their ATCs. I mean, people could work on their ATCs for a couple of months before you actually have to figure out how they get sorted. So,
So something thinking ahead towards summer or so,
yeah,
it might
yeah.
be something, and then we can get back to you. Yes, thanks for
I
being
can't tell
willing
you
to
how
sort
much
that.
fun it is every month going to get this envelope. I mean, I get in my car and I don't drive. I sit there at the post office and open everyone up and look at them. It's lots of fun.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and close out the stop the recording.
Thanks so much, Marilyn. That was fun.